the Education Secretary is proposing a ban on mobile phones in schools across England, describing them as potentially damaging.
Should classrooms be a phone-free zone? Joining us is head teacher Cully Uppal, who banned mobile phones 5 years ago to ensure no distractions and make sure that children are focused, and head teacher Richard Sheriff, who is chief executive of the Red Kite Learning Trust, which runs 13 academies, and says banning mobiles doesn't make sense. Right, Richard Sheriff, we understand that Gavin Williamson wants mobile phones to be banned from classroom. It sounds, as a parent, like a good idea. Why, as a head teacher, is it not?
Well, first of all, good morning, everybody. The first thing I would say is I think it's up to head teachers what they decide to do. And my colleague who's speaking to you this morning, absolutely support him in making that decision. He feels in the best interest of children, parents and community at his school. And that's a right that head teachers have to be able to do what's right for their school, for their young people. Personally, for the schools that I serve, we've got some students who really will find that very, very difficult, and families. For example, one of our schools serves a very large rural area. Those children spend a lot of time on buses or depend on friends dropping them off and so forth. And the mobile phone for them, they feel is a vital lifeline between them, home and school. So saying they're banned completely is a real problem. This doesn't mean, though, that I think they should be just used around school willy-nilly and kids staring at the phones all the time. I certainly don't believe that's the case. We have clear rules about not using them in classrooms and not using them around school when they're not supposed to be.
So they are. So that's interesting. OK, so they are banned in the classroom at your schools. They're just not banned on school premises. So where do the phones go in the morning?
Yeah, they go straight. What we say to children is they go in their pockets and they're zipped away there, and we don't see them, and we don't want to see them in classroom situations.
So then it's up to the teacher then to police whether the phone is beeping, buzzing, the child's looking at Snapchat when they're sitting at the back of the class.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's just not a big issue. This isn't the thing that teachers are talking about. It's going to make life difficult. But we're hoping to keep the virus out of schools, not phones. That's not our focus at the moment. And I think what we don't want to see a central diktat about things. These are the minutiae of how we run schools. Will Gavin Williamson be saying we're proposing legislation around the length of ties or skirts for girls? Is this going to come in next? And what we're going to do in our relationship with students when the first thing we do is frisk them for their phones after just returning after this awful nearly 2 years of disruption.
Now, if I can turn to Cully Uppal, I mean, when we're sitting here working, and in many jobs we get our mobile phones out, they're useful tools, we can access the internet, we can find information. It's a part of the modern world that we live in. And I know some teachers find it useful to be able to ask their pupils to look something up. It's a research tool for learning in the modern world. Wouldn't mobile phones have a use in the classroom on occasion?
Well, good morning, everybody, and certainly I agree with many of the points there that my colleague Richard has made there. I think it's important to remember that this is nothing new here, and at Bristol Hall Academy and indeed across Academy of Transformation Trust, we've talked about mobile phones and why they shouldn't be seen, they shouldn't be heard, and it's about making sure that individuals in our classrooms are realising that learning is paramount, and that's the most important thing. So students know that their mobile phones are away. They're not accepted here as part of academy life. We are removing that element of distraction, and therefore we can focus on the more important things and making sure that the learning certainly continues.
But do they not have a role in learning on occasion as a research tool? I mean, I've had some complaints coming through and some messages from people in schools that they don't even have the IT resources, so they need the mobile phones to be there as a way of looking things up on the internet when that's part of class.
Well, the Department for Education has certainly invested a lot of time and money recently in making sure that schools and academies are equipped with all the necessary ICT and technology equipment. We've had a rollout here at Bristol Hall Academy ensuring all of our students have got access to that technology and making sure that that's accessible to all those who need it. And I think that's where we've got to make sure that the screen time is made the most use of, we use it in an efficient way, and we take away that possible distraction from students and make sure that the screen time is carefully managed too. to. Mobile phones certainly have their place in society, but when they come to the Bristol Hall Academy, as they do to other academies and schools across the nation, they're coming here to learn.
I wonder if it spreads further than that. Do you have policies or guidance given to parents on use of mobile phones outside school? We know they can be tools for bullying. We know they can be cause mental health impacts for young people using them too much. You know, it used to be when we went to school, it was the day you were bullied at school and then you went home to the safety of your house. But that, of course, you can engage someone in their own house with a mobile phone on social media. So do you have a policy for mobiles beyond the school gates, or is that not your business?
We certainly have a moral obligation and a policy in place to ensure that students are safeguarded throughout their time, whether it's here on site or whether it's at home. We run e-safety classroom modules with students. We also communicate home with parents regularly of how parents can not patrol and police their children, but certainly keep an eye out for certain factors which they may need to take a real sort of an interest in. But I think it's important here that we don't scaremonger with our parents and carers. We talk to our community. We're transparent about the possible dangers out there, but also embrace that sometimes students do need that time, of course, to use their mobile phones, but it's about getting that fine balance, and communication there is certainly key. But our duty is to ensure that our students remain safeguarded at all times. All
right, Cully Uppal, thank you for joining us. Richard Sheriff as well. We appreciate your time this morning. We did put this on Twitter. Should mobile phones be banned in schools? 80% said yes, 20% said no.